Hey guys, I'm Urizi. This story is all about what if Naruto is the reincarnation of Hashirama and can remember his past life. The Yondaime Hokage unknowingly makes a change during the sealing, the consequences of which are unimaginable for both Naruto and Konoha. What do these consequences mean for Naruto? Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video, and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 1. Konoha's Outskirts. Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage, drew upon the last of his chakra as he and his wife gazed at their beloved son. The Sandaime and his squad looked at the tragic scene with tears flowing down their eyes. Fuinjutsu, Shiki Fuin. The death god materialized behind Minato. The fourth looked at his son's face with bottomless regret as he and his wife spoke their last words to their son. He looked at Sarutobi. Keep him safe, Sandaime. He is a hero of the leaf, and must be treated as such. Promise me. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage, nodded solemnly. I promise. Minato released chakra. Seal. The Kyuubi's Yang chakra was sealed into little Naruto. The Yin chakra was in the process of being sealed into the Shinigami, but Minato was faltering. A bit of the Yin chakra was sealed into young Naruto as well. Minato's face grew anguished. Kushina had already passed out, but he could still feel her life force faintly. He would not let his son be tainted by the fox's malice. Drawing on the power of the seal, he tried to pull out the Yin chakra sealed in Naruto forcibly, but to his horror he was drawing out Naruto's soul as well. Hastily he released the sealing technique and Naruto's soul snapped back into its body. The seal was somewhat changed from the traditional Reaper Death seal. He looked at the Sandaime one last time, and secured the Shiki Fuin with the 8 trigram seal. It would allow Naruto the Kyuubi's chakra with purification. He felt himself fading into darkness. Good luck, Naruto. The protective dome wavered and the Sandaime rushed in to gather Naruto in his arms. Kushina-sama is alive, Sandaime-sama. The Sandaime felt relief on hearing this. The child would not be alone. Get her to the medics, now. I will take Naruto myself. The consequences of this day's events would be beyond comprehension. 13 years later. Uzumaki Naruto was currently bored. So bored in fact that he had his head lying comfortably upon his desk, drooling onto the floor, a clear indication that he was drifting off to sleep. Naruto was predictably reaching for one of the multiple bowls of miso ramen floating around in his dreamland. His drooling increased to what one might call gross levels and he let out a rather happy snore. The food of the gods. Naruto. Naruto was rudely awakened from his fantasy land and excitably jumped onto the table. He looked around energetically before fixing his gaze upon the one jutsu dreaded by all academy students. Iruka-sensei's demonic giant head jutsu. Naruto, you inattentive little brat. Tell me, why was Senju Hashirama the most feared ninja on the battlefield of the First War? Naruto scratched his head. Well, he could do a lot of powerful jutsus. A tick mark appeared on Iruka's visage. The class sniggered at Naruto, Kiba and Yazuka taking particular pains to mock the dead last. Idiot. He could do a lot of powerful jutsu. He mocked in a sing-song voice. Shut up, doggy. Naruto yelled. Iruka blew up yet again. Quiet. Unsurprisingly the class quieted down. Naruto, you will read up on the Shodai Hokage and give us all a detailed presentation on his life tomorrow, without fail. Do you understand? Naruto scowled. Yes, sensei. People really did not understand. How was he to read history without books, and how was he to get books without a library? They always refused to entertain demons in the village. They always called him demon. Why? His musings were interrupted by Iruka calling for the class to follow him for meditation exercises. He distractedly followed the rest of the class. Once they were all assembled, Iruka asked them to place a leaf upon their forehead and concentrate upon it and it only. He said it would help them later in controlling chakra. Hey forehead, I guess you won't have any worries of the leaf falling off your forehead, will you? Naruto scoffed mentally at Ino and Sakura's bickering over Sasuke-kun. He had seen 2 graduating classes come and go, and this class was by far the worst to him. Sasuke the emo had turned away his friendship offer with harsh words. Sakura and Ino, intent on pleasing Broody, had always shot him down. Hinata fainted whenever he was within 3 feet of her. The other 2 batches were okay, compared to this one. He would have passed out with them too, if not for the bunshin technique that needed to be demonstrated at the exams. Unfortunately, he always produced a sickly version of himself that looked ready to die. Thus he had endured in the academy as a failure, a daub. Sasuke always reminded him of being a daub, along with Kiba. Anger filled him as he thought of the multiple taunts he had endured, and the pointed glares he had received from the townsmen. Everyone seemed to hate him, and he did not know why. Concentrate, Naruto. Iruka snapped at him. Sighing, Naruto focused his attention upon the leaf on the center of his forehead. It was hard for him to remain still. No matter what others thought of him, he tried his best in the classes, never slacking off. He would command their respect in the end, no matter what. He closed his eyes and focused upon the leaf. It felt nice, and calm. He showed himself to be a loudmouth and prankster for just one purpose only, to forget his childhood angst. If he kept thinking of his beatings and mistreatment, he would surely go mad. He had no happy memories, so he staved off his life's misery with pranks and such. Shrugging off his melancholy, he focused again. As usual, he felt the chakra of everyone in the room. He concentrated even more, and he could feel it. Calm and flowing. It was chakra, undoubtedly. But it felt so very different from his own. This felt powerful yet peaceful, intimidating but soothing. He felt connected to everybody. He could even feel the emotions of people around him. His always hyper-agitated mind felt calm for the first time, and he loved this feeling. He calmly let a dopey smile show on his face. Naruto. Naruto lazily opened his eyes. What, Iruka-sensei? That felt so nice and you had to break me. What were you doing, Naruto? There was blue chakra coming out of your body. There was. I felt so good, I could feel what all of you felt, and their chakras. Iruka's eyes bugged out. Tell me then, Naruto, what was I feeling? Proud yet frustrated. Sasuke here was frustrated yet angry. Sakura was eager and horny. Ino was dash. Enough, Naruto. Iruka said, a tinge of pink in his cheeks. You will accompany me to Hokage-sama's office right now. Rest of the class is dismissed for the day. Go on, time is almost up anyway. With a giant cheer the class ran to the door, but the angry Sakura rushed at Naruto with her fist cocked. Sakura reached Naruto and swung her fist. Much to the surprise of the entire class, Naruto ducked calmly even without looking, causing Sakura to barrel into the desk and yell out in pain. The class was silent. Naruto had dodged that punch even without looking, as if he had eyes in the back of his head. Ha 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 ha. Naruto was laughing, pointing at Sakura, who was crying. The class too broke out in smiles, even Emo's mouth twitched a bit. Sakura gave Naruto a nasty glare and left sniffling. The class was empty at last, with only Naruto and Iruka in it. How did you dodge that punch, Naruto? Iruka asked curiously. Oh, I could feel that she was angry with me, and her chakra was getting nearer and nearer. And I know exactly how she punches. So it was easy for me to dodge her. Iruka looked impressed and beckoned him to follow to the Hokage's office. Naruto followed easily. God, he felt so much better after the leaf meditation thing. It was like he could feel the chakra of everyone within sight and their feelings to a certain degree. He could feel so many presences and their emotions as he proceeded towards the old man's office. Iruka knocked on the door and the old man's voice asked them to come in. Ah, Naruto. Iruka. To what do I owe this pleasure? Naruto, however, closed his eyes and extended his senses as he had done in the leaf exercise. 4 chakras. 1 felt like a raging fire, 2 felt like water, and the last felt like lightning. They all seemed bored yet aware, but the old man's chakra felt huge, like an ocean. He opened his eyes and looked at the old man in awe. Old man, I never knew you were so strong. The Hokage shot Iruka a questioning look. Ah, Hokage-sama, that is what I am here to talk about. It seems Naruto here has uncovered a very strong sensory ability during the leaf focus exercise. He could feel even the emotions of the people in the room along with chakra. The Hokage looked astonished at Naruto. Well Naruto, what am I feeling? Proud, surprised, and anxious. Can you feel anything or anyone else, Naruto? Yeah, I can feel 4 other chakras in this room. One feels like fire, 2 like water and the last like lightning, and they all seem bored but alert. Sarutobi looked stunned, as did Iruka. It seems you can sense natures as well, Naruto. This is an unexpected development. We need to test out the limits of this ability of yours. Close your eyes. Naruto closed his eyes. Now focus like you did in the leaf exercise. Keep your mind calm and try to imagine yourself as the leaf. You are floating on the wind, calmly, no anger, no emotions, just. Naruto followed the instructions of the old man diligently. The Hokage's voice was hypnotic and calmed down his semi-agitated mind. He was the leaf. Bright blue chakra exploded around Naruto. He could sense so many people. The feelings were so intense that he tuned them out. There were so many chakras in Konoha, but none were as strong as the old man, but a few came close. Now Naruto, can you tell me what the chakra of the people near the North Gate feel like? Naruto could visualize Konoha in his mind's eye. Casting his senses in the north direction, he glimpsed the gate. There were 2 chakras there. They were incredibly bored, and one felt like water and the other like fire. Opening his eyes, he said as much to the fire shadow. The old man nodded slowly. This is a very rare ability you have there, Naruto. It is called the sensory ability, and you seem to have an extremely strong one. To sense even natures and emotions, you are the second person I have seen could do that. Naruto looked excited. Who was the first, old man? Tell me. Tell me. Sarutobi chuckled. It was my first sensei, Senju Hashirama. You know him as the Shodai Hokage. He had a special chakra that allowed him to sense like you do. At this Sarutobi's eyes narrowed in thought. There was no reason for Naruto to have sensory abilities. True, Minato had the sensory abilities of the second, but that was not even close to the versatility of Naruto's ability. Naruto had both range and sense. The botched ceiling of the fox came to his mind. Sighing, he reached for one of the many scrolls stored in his desk. Listen carefully, Naruto. The ability you have should not go untrained. It can be a major asset for the village to have a sensor of your caliber. So to further your ability, I am giving you this scroll. It is a documentation of sensory skills penned by Hashirama Sensei himself. Here you might find ways of training your ability. Treat this carefully and keep it secret. Flabbergasted, Naruto received the scroll with reverence. A scroll written with the first Hokage's own hands. Thank you, old man. I will become the best sensor in Konoha, believe it. Naruto said excitedly. I know you will, Naruto. Now run along. Naruto walked out of the building cradling the scroll to his chest closely. Naruto's apartment. Naruto unfurled the scroll carefully, restraining his excitement. His excitement dropped down considerably when he saw only a small paragraph on the scroll. Calm your mind, focus upon nature. Extend the sense inward, not outward. Enter your subconscious and face yourself. To be one with nature is to be one with yourself. The balance of yin and yang is the balance of chakra and nature. This is called harmony. What did this even mean? Naruto was getting very frustrated with the cryptic scroll. He decided to continue with what the Sandaime had taught him. Closing his eyes, he calmed himself as he did before. Again, he could feel the chakras around him. There were 2 chakras near his apartment that were large and felt like fire, both of them. Shelving his anger at being watched, he continued with his sensory exercises. It was the same as before. What was he doing wrong? Extend the sense inward, not outward. He tried to sense his own chakra and was able to do so faintly. He tried even more, and he was astonished. There seemed to be 3 chakras flowing in his body. One felt like pure malice, all anger and hate. The second chakra felt familiar and comfortable like it was truly his own, but the third chakra felt soothing but so strong. So potent. It felt like the opposite of the first. If anything, It felt like leaves, earth, and trees. He could feel this very chakra all around him, and it was steadily flowing into his body. The second familiar chakra was fading fast and was being replaced by the soothing strong chakra. He delved deeper into his very nature and blacked out. Drip. 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 Naruto woke up in what seemed to be a sewer with bad lighting and water up to his knees. He groggily followed the passage, which opened to a cell with bars so high and large that its end was not visible. The doors of the cell were secured by a single piece of paper with seal written on it. He peered behind the cell curiously, feeling unfathomable amounts of chakra behind it. It felt malicious and full of hatred beyond human comprehension. His mind almost shut down in response. "Hello," he called out weakly. What seemed to be a mass of darkness opened two glowing red eyes and stared at him. A deafening roar came out of the darkness, causing Naruto to backpedal frantically and fall on his ass. The glowing red eyes focused upon his own. "Ha ha ha. That was funny. Really, it was. The look on your face. You looked like a kid who had the stuffing scared out of him." The darkness behind the cell came to light, revealing a sniggering giant fox. Naruto stared dumbfounded at this surreal sight. Then something else registered in his mind. The fox had 9 tails. "Kyuubi!" he yelled, pointing at the fox accusingly. The fox stopped his sniggering and inspected the human child in front of him. "Yeah, that's me, kid. I knew you were way smarter than you let on. No need to freak out. By the look on your face, I guess you have lots of questions. To eliminate the more obvious ones, we are currently in your mind. When you tried to trace my chakra, you ended up here. And yes, the angry chakra is mine. And no, the soothing chakra has nothing to do with me, though it is soothing." Naruto looked at the weird self-proclaimed Kyuubi in front of him and sweat dropped. "Aren't you supposed to be an evil fox that threatens people and kills them for fun, and how are you in my mind?" Kyuubi looked amused. "Fine, let us begin at that point. Listen carefully, kid. Before I ended up in your cracked sewer of a mind, I was pretty normal, alright. No random rampages, though those are rather fun. I have near infinite chakra, but do you think I keep blowing things up forever? That is just hilarious." Naruto had to give the fox that point. "But why are you in my mind?" he asked. "I was put in a genjutsu by a man I would gladly kill but sadly cannot. This genjutsu awoke my bloodlust and allowed him to direct my anger towards the village. I went on a rampage killing many ninja, before the Yondaime Hokage confronted me and sealed me up in a newborn baby, you." Naruto was crushed. He could hardly think from the grief that filled his heart. His beloved fourth Hokage was the one that condemned him to a life full of misery and pain. Rage filled his heart as he thought of the numerous beatings, tortures and neglect he had received from the villagers. Why was it him? Why? 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 He had reasons, kid, and I will tell you those reasons if you will do something for me. Naruto looked at the Kyuubi with grief-filled eyes. "What do you want? Look around this place. Can you see the cracks everywhere?" Naruto could indeed see the cracks, spider webbing everywhere. The place looked like it was about to fall apart, but still held firm. The cracks seemed to radiate the same soothing chakra he had felt. "Yes, I can see it." "Good. Let me explain to you what seals are briefly. Seals are constructs that allow extreme manipulation and programming of chakra. They are expressions of the mind. Your Yondaime sealed me in with an extremely powerful one. But something went wrong with the sealing, which is all I can remember. The cracks in this place indicate that there exists another aspect beneath this layer of the seal. Now, all you have to do is continue to try and sense only the nature chakra flowing through your body. Got that? Do that and I will be able to see just what it is that lies beneath this layer that allows me to get calm so fast." Naruto easily deduced that the calming potent chakra flowing through him was the nature chakra Kyuubi spoke of. His agitated mind sought the refuge of that chakra automatically. He focused upon the nature chakra and it alone. His mind calmed down fast and he could feel it building in his body. It was dominating the other two chakras. He dimly got the sensation that the Kyuubi was smiling peacefully. Shaking off his thoughts at such weirdness, he focused even more. The enormous chakra of the Kyuubi was sidelined till he could barely feel it, and the familiar chakra, which was probably his own, was fading away. With a final rush, all of his own chakra was replaced by the nature chakra. He could feel his body adapting to the new chakra, the network enormously changing to accommodate its new fluid. Wondrously, he felt little pain. It was as if his already formidable resilience and healing were magnified tenfold by the nature chakra. He felt complete. If he thought he could sense well before, it was nothing compared to what he could do now. He could sense everything. It was more reliable than his eyes, ears, and smell. He could sense chakra and emotions to an acute level. Hell, he could even sense the wind caressing his body, the blissful moisture in the air, and even the earth for miles and miles and all those connected to it. He opened his eyes and saw the smiling Kyuubi in its cell. His mind, as the Kyuubi put it, was now almost covered with cracks, and the water in the sewer was rushing chaotically in a rage. He had never felt this calm or strong before. His mind felt so clear and his thoughts so fluid. Now what, Kyuubi? The Kyuubi smiled beatifically. Kid, what you have done, only one person has ever done in history. Continue what you did before, turn your senses inward, go on. Naruto determinedly turned his sense right back inward. Something was just beyond his reach, just there. He began reaching for it. Unknown to him, the walls of his mindscape were close to bursting, but the Kyuubi's cell was intact. Naruto was in ecstasy. He had never felt this good before. So powerful, so strong. The forests around Konoha seemed alive. Each and every tree in Konoha seemed greener and glossier all of a sudden. It was almost as if nature itself was heralding a hitherto unseen event. Something sacred. Nature chakra filled Naruto's mind and body to the brim. He took in more and more. He could feel the imperfections of his body correcting themselves. His ramen-induced malnutrition was being erased completely. His pale and sickly skin was regaining its color. His pale yellow-colored hair was becoming burning gold in color. He could not even remember who he was in the torrent of potent nature chakra. Hashirama. The name floated in his head. He latched onto the name, trying to regain his identity. The chakra was ecstasy so strong that it was painful. Hashirama. There was that name again. It meant something. What did it mean? He opened his eyes and could see the Kyuubi clearly. It seemed to be shocked, in a foxy sort of way. Suddenly the fox faded out of sight and visions assaulted his mind. So clear that he could say he lived them. Thousands upon thousands of them. An entire lifetime. Visions of wars and peace made by him. Of treaties and trust created by him. Of love and betrayal experienced by him. They all assaulted him with the force of a battering ram. He was reeling. But through it all, there was a sense of unfathomable power, indomitable will, and bottomless compassion and love. A name. He needed a name. Who was he? The memories continued through childhood, youth, and up to a battle with his dearest friend. Battles fought and lost. Comrades gone and saved. These were too vivid and the feelings too personal to be just visions. They were memories. He could not stand it anymore. It was too much. He was dimly aware of himself screaming at the top of his voice, and he could sense inconceivable amounts of chakra being released by him. Naruto. He was Naruto. Names were beginning to associate themselves to the memories he had just experienced. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uchiha Izuna. Mito Kato Homura. Shimura Danzo. Senjutoka. Tsunade. Nawaki. Senjutobi Rama. Uchiha Madara. The names went on and on, with the memories associating themselves again with names and integrating themselves into his persona firmly. He had now lived two lives, a short life of a child called Naruto, and the illustrious life of a man, no legend. Senju Hashirama. He was both Senju Hashirama and Uzumaki Naruto. His personalities were merging, both old and new. He suddenly gave out, wanting to escape the strain of two lives lived. He blissfully slipped into slumber. But Naruto's unconscious mind was working overtime. His chakra network was being modified to suit the needs of the legendary chakra of the Shodai. His muscles were being rebuilt by the nature chakra from their near-atrophied state to something much stronger. But his mind was undergoing the greatest change, incorporating the extremely massive knowledge and experience of Hashirama into itself. Any saplings planted in Konoha suddenly burst into trees. Flowers bloomed everywhere in Konoha's forests as if it were springtime. Something wonderful was being returned to the world. The next day, the alarm clock blared hard, causing Naruto to wake up abruptly and bring down his fist hard on the damned thing. Crash! The clock and the table on which it was seated broke into pieces, splinters flying everywhere. The noise caused Naruto to wake up with a rush. He stared blearily at his wall clock, noting that he had around 10 minutes to get to the academy. His return to consciousness brought to attention the unmasking of his previous life. He knew somehow that it was no transfer of memories or skills, no experiment gone right or wrong. It was him remembering his previous life. He was both Hashirama and Naruto. He needed to think on this more. A crisis of identity never did good to anyone. He glanced at his table. Mokuton, platform of wood. Instantaneously, trees sprouted from the floor and reshaped themselves into a rough approximation of a table. He grimaced. It seemed that he did not have the control and muscle memory he had in his previous life. Those had to be reintegrated still. Evidently, the lack of chakra control was an aspect of his life as Naruto. Shrugging off his pondering, he put on his orange jumpsuit and rushed to the academy. He could think more as he slept at class. Really, his reputation as a slacker did help sometimes. Running full pelt, he skidded in front of the class doors. "Sorry I'm late, Iruka-sensei," he said calmly. The class including Iruka seemed stunned at Naruto's new look. Though he still wore his horrible orange jumpsuit, he looked cool. His golden hair seemed to have grown to shoulder length. His body seemed extremely toned and solid, but what caught them all were his eyes. The beautiful cerulean blue was gone, replaced by deep forest green eyes. The color, though striking, was not important. It was the look in them that pierced his classmates and sensei, the look of compassion and love, shrewdness and joviality, most of all an agelessness and power that transcended human comprehension. Naruto had changed drastically. "Is there a problem?" Naruto asked. No. "Go to your seat, Naruto." Naruto nodded and coolly sat in his seat. Then he laid his head on the bench and started snoring softly as Iruka continued his lecture. The class snickered its derision of the dead last and went back to normal. Even Iruka seemed relieved by Naruto's return to normalcy and continued his lecture. Meanwhile, Naruto had descended down into his mindscape. And he was greeted by an unexpected sight. Instead of a dank sewer half waterlogged, there was an endless forest full of huge trees and exotic flowers. It was nature at its pinnacle. Naruto smiled. As expected, his mindscape had changed to accommodate him as Hashirama. Now to search for the Kyuubi. Putting his acute sensory capabilities to the test, he followed the trail of Kyuubi chakra through his mindscape. The great Kyuubi no Kitsune was now in a different kind of prison. Instead of a dungeon of darkness, he was imprisoned in an imitation of Hashirama's technique. A massive wooden cage with seal on its doors. It seemed that the Shikifune was still secure. The Kyuubi opened its eyes and looked at Naruto. It seemed a lot calmer. In fact, Naruto could sense no malice in its chakra. In fact, it seemed a lot like his own Mokuton chakra. "Greetings, Naruto, or should I say Hashirama?" "Hello, Kurama." "Yeah, I used to be Hashirama in my previous life. I am both, actually. I am for a name, I am Naruto as I wish to be defined by this life alone. I acknowledge myself as Hashirama, but he is of the past. I must look to the future. Anyway, I know next to nothing after the world as it is now. So tell me, Kurama. What happened to Mito?" Kurama sighed. "I was sealed in Mito for a long time. Later I was transferred to another Uzumaki girl, Kushina. Your mother in this life. Your father is Namikaze Minato, Yondaime Hokage. Before your birth, I was brought forcibly out of the seal, and forced to destroy Konoha." Naruto sighed Sharingan. "It was always a troublesome jujutsu. Do you have an idea who it was?" "He claimed to be Madara. He fought the fourth Hokage and lost. He had some good space-time ninjutsu. It cannot be Madara." I killed him during our final battle. It is obviously an imitator. Something else is afoot in the world. I need to find out what. But first, I need to resurrect the true Konoha. Sarutobi has grown complacent. Yeah. Do what you want. Anyway, do you think you could free me from this seal? I am sure you could suppress me anyway, and I wouldn't mind having at least an illusion of freedom. Naruto scratched his head. No can do. I have only a small fraction of the chakra I had when I died and my control is atrocious. I had perfect control of my chakra and smooth flow. I can gain back my old control and regain a considerable amount of my old chakra capacity in a matter of months. It is only an issue of reconciling my old self with this self. So you'll have to wait a bit. Fine, anyway, it's good to see you back, Hashirama. Your brat self was really annoying. Naruto grinned. I suppose. It is quite close to how I was as a child in my life as Hashirama. It has been surprisingly easy to get adjusted to this new development. Naruto waved goodbye to Kurama and became conscious in the real world once more. Raising his head, he looked at his classmates. Children, they were just children in a horrifying world. Konoha had fallen far. He had to help these children become shinobi fast or they would die within months of becoming genin. The reformation of Konoha would start with this generation. His mistreatment for being Jinhiriki was evidence to Konoha's decline from what it used to be during his day. Naruto. Are you ready to talk about the Yondaime Hokage? Naruto smiled happily and walked down to the stage. It is not often one gets a chance to talk of oneself in such glorious terms. The Yondaime Hokage was Senju Hashirama. He was called the strongest Hokage and shinobi of his time and no one has ever surpassed him. He is called God of Shinobi due to his extreme power and intelligence. His closest family was Senju Tobirama, his little brother, who went on to become the Yondaime Hokage. Half an hour later. And he defeated Uchiha Madara at the Valley of End, Naruto finished smugly. The class was staring at Naruto stupefied. When did the dobe suddenly know the life of the first Hokage so intimately? What happened to the hyperactive loser who was jumping around like a moron proclaiming he would be Hokage? Shikamaru stared at Naruto contemplatively. This was too much of a change for just one day. Naruto was no longer a loser, but he exuded a calm air of surety. His bearing was easygoing and almost noble. Troublesome. Hinata stared at her longtime crush. He seemed a new and deep person. Hyuga were trained to observe and conclude from a very young age and the difference was apparent to the heiress. Activating her Jujutsu, she looked at Naruto. And she was mesmerized. What used to be chaotic blue chakra was now gone. Instead Naruto seemed to be shining bright with what seemed to be a pure silver chakra running through his network smoothly like the currents of a free-flowing river. Naruto though was smiling contentedly in his head. The children were given a small overview of his life and they would remember it. That reminded him, he had to find out what happened to his clan. There were no Senju children in the classroom. So much to do. Well, he had to lay low until he was a genin. Then he would have access to shinobi resources and he could gather information. Till then he would perfect his chakra control and that would help his instinctive healing as well. Ignoring the lectures of Eureka, he focused once more upon his life as Hashirama, ordering and remembering with increasing clarity. He would continue to remember and regain as time went by and he trained. Time skip, genin exam day. Naruto yawned as he saw Eureka calling for students to administer their qualifying exams. He sighed as he thought of the falling standards at Konoha. In the months since his awakening, Naruto had fully integrated the memories of his past life. He was not Hashirama or Naruto alone, but both. His chakra control had skyrocketed and it was almost the level it had been near his death. Absolute perfection. He had not yet tried his Mokuton Jutsu on a large scale, but he could feel that it would be easy as before. His chakra capacity was about 1/10 his original capacity and growing rapidly, and his affinity to Doton and Suton was as strong as ever. Surprisingly he had sensed in himself a futon affinity but not trained in it. It would look less suspicious anyway when he would have to actually work for something. His conversations with Kurama were most enlightening. He learned a lot of his mother, Uzumaki Kushina, and her life. Evidently she was quite the Kenjutsu and Suton user, strong enough to rival the Yondaime. She also taught the Yondaime the art of Fuinjutsu. Her fate was still not clear to him. Kurama said she was still alive at the end of the ceiling, which meant she could have abandoned him. Not that he had any need for a parental figure. He had outgrown that in a different lifetime. Sighing, he put away any thoughts of Uzumaki Kushina. He had studied the books of history to catch up on what was happening in the shinobi world since his death. Apparently, the Uchiha were all slaughtered by their own prodigy Itachi. Itachi had then gone on to torture his brother mentally before sparing him. He certainly sympathized with the poor Uchiha child and held no ill will towards him for his broody and ill-tempered nature. He needed to help the Uchiha child most of all, so he remained a dead last so he could be placed on that team. Uzumaki Naruto, Mizuki called. Naruto always knew there was something about Mizuki that set him on edge. After his awakening it became even more apparent as he could sense the Chunin's hostile intent from about a mile away. He pushed away thoughts of traitorous ninja and went to his teachers. He had a test to clear. He faced Iruka. All right, Naruto. Perform the Bunshin, Henge, and Kawarami in that order, and you will pass. Naruto smiled. He performed the Bunshin all right. He did the perverted Warak no Jutsu version of Henge that amused him to no end. After waking up from a nosebleed that knocked him out, Iruka cajoled him into performing a perfect Henge, which he did, transforming himself to Hashirama. He then did a proper Kawarami and walked out with a Konoha Hitaiate. After many skeptical responses from the children at the fact that he had actually passed and congratulations from Hinata, he settled down in front of the academy. Closing his eyes he extended his sensory abilities all over Konoha. His sensing range was greater than in his previous life, and he could sense 20 kilometers in every direction. He could tell the chakra natures of the ninja, their emotions, their capacity, and he could even visualize the world in great detail for 3 kilometers in all directions. It was like a Byakugan without the ability to see Tenketsu. He spread his calming chakra all over the village, feeling the effects on the village. His village. He would always be here to protect the village he had founded. He could sense an incoming chakra, which had a Doton nature. The emotions were hostile, and upon deeper sensing he concluded it was Mizuki. Naruto. Came Mizuki's voice. Mizuki-sensei, is there a problem? Naruto asked. No. I come here with an extra test for you, which upon passing you will be made the Rookie of the Year. Smooth. Real smooth. I have deceived and destroyed entire armies during war, my power literally rearranged the map of Konoha. You think to fool me with such pathetic excuses? Naruto thought. He would go along with this and see what Mizuki was planning. He could clearly sense the Chunin's urgency and greed. What is this test, Mizuki-sensei? All you have to do is sneak into the Hokage's tower and steal the scroll of seals. Get the scroll back to me and I will put it where it belongs. So what do you say, will you take the test? Yes. When he took down Mizuki, he would have to keep the power he exhibited down to a genin level. It would not do for the world to know that Senju Hashirama was amongst them too early. He suppressed his chakra to his former near cage level quantity and shot off towards the tower. He could sense Sarutobi in his office. He grinned evilly. He knew just what would take care of the old pervert. He faced the Hokage as soon as he sneaked into his office. Naruto, what are you doing here? Warak no Jutsu. Naruto yelled, transforming into a scantily clad adorable girl. The Hokage flew back with a nosebleed. He hastily grabbed the scroll of sealing that was sticking out from the bunch of scrolls arranged on a rack and made a run for it. He could clearly sense the Hokage's puzzlement in a flare of his chakra. He could feel Sarutobi's chakra surround him and he could trace it back to the office. He concluded that he was being watched. Anyway, he happily opened the scroll of sealing and scanned the jutsu inside. All were familiar to him, various elemental techniques, Shunshin, and Cage Shuriken no Jutsu. He was particularly intrigued by the Cage Bunshin technique. It seemed a good substitute for his wood clone even if a little inferior. He could comprehend the Kinjutsu fast enough. He was Senju Hashirama, after all. Suddenly he could feel a chakra approaching him. Iruka. He calmly waited for the man to approach him. Naruto, what are you doing with that scroll? Mizuki-sensei asked me to get this scroll for the rookie position. I passed. Isn't that great, Iruka-sensei? Naruto exclaimed, jumping up and down childishly. Yes, that's great, Naruto. Now give me the scroll. Mizuki's voice joined the unfolding drama. Don't, Naruto, he is a traitor trying to use you. Quiet, Iruka. Naruto, do you know why you are so hated in this village? Yes, I do, Naruto deadpanned. Mizuki and Iruka were astonished. What? This was also echoed by the Sandaime, who was spying on Naruto. Using Mizuki's surprise as an opening, Naruto performed seals at a genin speed. Shunshin no Jutsu. Naruto appeared behind Mizuki and placed his first two fingers on the chakra junction on Mizuki's neck. Before he could react, Naruto pumped a minute amount of his chakra into Mizuki, rendering him unconscious. He turned to Iruka. How was that, Iruka-sensei? Iruka just stared at him, before saying proudly. You are a true genin and fine shinobi of the leaf, Naruto. Naruto just smiled. So did the Hokage. You hide many things, Naruto. You will go far, so far that even I cannot imagine it. Chapter 2. The Sandaime Hokage looked through his all-seeing crystal ball, gazing contemplatively at the most intriguing ninja in the village at the moment, Naruto. The boy was an enigma wrapped in a mystery, as seen from his effortless incapacitation of the traitor Mizuki. He had displayed the Shunshin no Jutsu with a rare ease. Iruka was amazed that he could even perform the technique, but Hiruzen knew better. Naruto had performed the seals with too much ease and too less concentration showing on his face. It was as if the technique was second nature to him. And how did he know to strike vital points? True, the theory was explained in the academy, but students were not expected to know it. The mastery that Naruto had displayed was interesting. What Naruto had done could be done only by an experienced medic nin, a Hyuga, or a ninja with considerable battle experience, none of which applied to Naruto. The Jounin are here, Hokage-sama, announced his secretary. Send them in, said Hiruzen. The Jounin filed in quietly. Asuma, Kurenai, Aoba, Kakashi and other Jounin here for their team assignments stood at attention waiting for him to speak. Well, Kakashi not so much. The pervert as usual was reading his beloved Ika Ika series. The Sandaime looked at the book closely and his eyes grew round. A limited series edition of Ika Ika violence. This was pure gold. He had to get this meeting over with as soon as possible and get that book from Kakashi. He grinned his closet pervert grin at the prospect. Kurenai coughed, noticing Kakashi reading the demmed book and the Sandaime trying really hard to get a look at the book without being obvious about it. Hokage-sama, don't we have team assignments to do? She asked primly. Hiruzen cleared his throat, looking disappointed. Yes. Yes, we do. Now, then. These are the teams assigned. Aoba will get Team 1 consisting of. He went on until. Hatake Kakashi will get Team 7 consisting of Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and Uzumaki Naruto. Kakashi looked up mildly interested, nodded and went back to his reading. Hiruzen could understand that. Team 8 will be Hyuga Hinata, Inyazuka Kiba, and Abarame Shino under Yuha Kurenai. The beautiful Kurenai nodded. Team 9 is still in circulation. Therefore, Team 10 will be Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Chuji, and Yamanaka Ino under Sarutobi Asuma. Asuma nodded, pleased at the fact that the second-generation Inoshikacho trio was under him. Hiruzen looked at them all. This completes the team assignments for this year's genin. You will have today to observe your assigned genin and will have to begin operation from tomorrow. Good luck to you all. The Jounin nodded solemnly and turned to leave. Kakashi, stay back. We have some important matters to discuss, Hiruzen ordered, looking intently at the treasure trove in Kakashi's hands. Kurenai looked at the two of them disgustedly before exiting. Next day at the academy. Naruto waited patiently for his sensei Hatake Kakashi to make his appearance. He was assigned to Team 7 along with Sasuke and Sakura. This would be an excellent opportunity for him to test the strength of the current Jounin of the village. He had to take care not to let loose though. He had a tendency to do that in a good fight. He knew well that he had Hiruzen's eye on him even more than usual from his display with Mizuki. The secret of his true identity could not be given out lightly, even to his former student. He would have to probe Hiruzen closely and judge how much his student had changed over the years. Kakashi was already running late by 2 hours, and the irritation from this fact was showing on the faces of both his teammates. Sasuke looked like a thundercloud. Naruto observed him closely and suppressed a smile. The kid looked exactly like Tobirama did when he was that age. Same stoic demeanor, same lack of speech and irritation with fangirls. The only thing difference was a sense of arrogance Sasuke had picked up along the way. Oh, well. He could change that. After all, he had mentored far more stubborn kids and turned them into great ninja. Hiruzen himself was a case in point. The boy was obviously slightly unstable. The mental torture he had purportedly suffered could be an effect of Tsukuyomi, and that would be bad. The whole Uchiha affair felt wrong to him. Clan prodigies don't usually go nuts and slaughter their clan at the drop of a hat. Uchiha Itachi obviously had a good reason for doing what he did, and he had also incited Sasuke's hatred for a reason. Sasuke, like the impressionable child he was, had fallen neck-deep into hatred and vengeance. The child was suffering. The Uchiha mess bore more investigation. He still had little knowledge of what happened after he was gone. Hearsay, books, and rumors were not real sources of knowledge, as they were always fabricated. He would know, as he had done the fabricating himself when he was Hokage. What unnerved him was that the Senju clan had just disappeared and the only known descendant was Tsunade. He smiled again as he thought of his granddaughter. He had spoiled her so much when she was little. It made him proud when he found out that Tsunade had made such a name for herself in the shinobi world. His little girl had grown so much. His thoughts were interrupted as the door opened and a tall, lean man with gravity-defying spiky white hair walked in. Opening his senses, he began to investigate the chakra of Hatake Kakashi. Team 7. You are late. Sakura yelled. Hi Kakashi, I smiled lazily. My first impression of you, you are all boring. Meet me on the roof. He disappeared with a leaf shunshin. Naruto too disappeared with a shunshin, stunning his teammates. On the roof. Naruto stared at Kakashi as he appeared on the roof with his jutsu. The Jounin hardly looked surprised, which meant that he was informed of what little capability he had shown. He was intensely reading an orange-colored book, but Naruto could see that he was very aware of his surroundings and was watching his student closely. He continued sensing Kakashi's chakra. The Jounin had about as much chakra as he did before his awakening, which was good. He could sense 3 natures in the man's chakra: Raiten, Doton, and Suton. Not bad. And he could sense something all too familiar about his covered eye. Sharingan. He sensed the chakra surrounding the eye carefully. The chakra emanating from the eye was far more sinister than a normal Sharingan. Mangekyo Sharingan. Either his sensei was a power-hungry maniac, or he had experienced intense loss. The latter option seemed more plausible, as he was a shinobi under Hiruzen. Also, his emotions were all over the place. Surprise, regret, pride. Why would the man feel pride? This man was intriguing. He would have to find out more about him. His musings were interrupted when Sakura and Sasuke joined them. Kakashi put down the book and began speaking. Good, you are here. Took you long enough. Anyway, start introducing yourselves. You, Pinky, start. Scowling at being christened Pinky, Sakura replied. Why don't you go first and give us an example, sensei? Kakashi sighed. Fine, my name is Hatake Kakashi. I have many likes, dislikes are too many to name. My dream is none of your business, I have many hobbies, he finished and stared expectantly at Sakura. Naruto's sweat dropped. He had just gotten the name of the man. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like. She blushed and stared at Sasuke. I dislike Naruto. Naruto shook his head. Children. My hobbies are, she glanced at Sasuke again. My dream for the future is. A final glance at Sasuke. Kakashi sighed once more. You next, Blondie. Naruto stared at Kakashi, and began his own introduction. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like forests and gardening. I dislike traitors and power-hungry maniacs. My dream for the future is to increase Konoha's power and prestige as its Hokage. My hobbies are practicing my jutsu and reading research texts on the nature of chakra. Kakashi stared at him. There was much more to Naruto than those academy reports said. Those forest green eyes of his were too unnerving. They were ageless and compassionate, and the boy himself radiated unbridled power. Kakashi wasn't a jounin for nothing. He knew Naruto was suppressing his chakra to seem like it was at its previous levels. He had observed the boy with his Sharingan the previous day and found that his chakra network was extremely superior, even more so than Minato-sensei. He was obviously letting only a fraction of his true strength show, and it alarmed Kakashi that what chakra he allowed to manifest was about as much as the Sandaime. There was the matter of his chakra itself. It was pure shining silver, instead of the usual bright blue. The Kyuubi chakra was nowhere to be found in his network. It was as if he was not a Jinhiriki. He had to watch out for his sensei's son. You go next, broody. Sasuke snorted. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I like nothing and hate everything. My dream, no, my ambition is to kill a certain man, and restore my clan. Kakashi stared at them a moment longer. Alright, the three of you are interesting and that is good. Meet me tomorrow at Training Ground 7 at 6 AM for the real Genin test. What? Sakura yelled. Naruto sighed. The girl did not know the meaning of calm speech. The exam you took at the academy was merely a filter. This is the real survival test, and I warn you, the pass rate is not very encouraging. Oh, and do not eat any breakfast. You don't want to puke all over the ground, do you? Kakashi waved at them and disappeared. Naruto turned to his teammates. Sasuke, Sakura. Do you want to get some ramen and get to know each other better? Sasuke snorted a no and turned away. Sakura didn't even look at Naruto and ran after Sasuke. Children these days, Naruto thought disappointedly. The next day, Training Ground 7. Naruto looked at his teammates. Sasuke was here early and was practicing the routines of the Uchiha Taijutsu style. Sakura was watching him devotedly, a smile of bliss on her face. He could see several holes in Sasuke's style. If he tried to correct the boy, he would obviously be derided. Uchiha respected power. So he would make his first bonds by showing the Uchiha child a little of his power. Naruto walked a little distance from where Sasuke was practicing his taijutsu and settled into the opening stance of the Senju taijutsu style he had customized to suit his sensory capabilities. As the Shodai Hokage, he was feared for his taijutsu as well, but he rarely had to use it outside training. His enemies usually ran instead of confronting him. The last good taijutsu fight he had was with his rival Madara. Even his taijutsu fights with Madara were highly destructive. Casting off thoughts of Madara, he began flowing through the stances of the nature style as he had named it. It emphasized speed, grace, and power. Counter-attacks were made by sensing the opponent's approach and intentions. Sasuke and Sakura had stopped their activities and began watching Naruto. They were stunned. The so-called dead last flew through the stances of a taijutsu style unknown with increasing speed. He struck gracefully at an imaginary opponent with his palm and pivoted smoothly to kick another phantom in the face. His speed too was increasing, he seemed like a blur to them almost. Naruto flared his chakra as he flew through his stances. Bright silver chakra became visible around his gracefully moving form. He was saturating the air with his chakra. The whole area around him started to feel charged with potent chakra. His strikes were becoming faster and faster. Naruto almost laughed in joy. It seemed that the muscle memory and grace he had developed as Hashirama were still as strong as ever. He finished his routine with a graceful palm strike and his chakra flared. Sasuke and Sakura stared wide-eyed. The ground in front of Naruto's extended palm was furrowed in a straight line for about 10 yards, testifying to the power of that final strike. Wherever Naruto had done his graceful practice, the grass was ripped up and torn. Sasuke walked up to Naruto. How did you do that, dope? Who taught you that taijutsu style? I created it myself, Naruto shrugged. Impossible. There is no way you can create such a powerful taijutsu. Naruto almost snorted. The child thought what he had done now was powerful. When he had trained as Hashirama and let loose with his nature fist, entire sections of forest were destroyed. He used to repair those sections with Mokuton. Believe what you wish, Sasuke. Now, let us cease our argument. Our sensei is here. Sasuke glared at Naruto and then walked off with Sakura, who was shooting her usual dirty glances at him. Kakashi appeared in the ground and looked at the portion of ground that was ripped up and torn. What happened here? He queried. Sakura was so caught up in her thoughts that she had not even berated him for his lateness. It was Naruto, sensei. He did that when he practiced his taijutsu. Sakura answered him, struggling to hide her awe at what she had seen. I see, Kakashi said. Inside he was shocked to the core. Another facet of Naruto's concealed power. Not even Gaizouken was so naturally destructive. He needed to be careful if Naruto's taijutsu was this damaging. He held up 2 bells, jingling them. See these bells? You have to get them from me in another 1¼ hour, this is your genin test. The one who gets no bell will be back at the academy. Come at me with the intent to kill. Clear. Naruto was amused. He was getting tested by the very test he had created. He could almost see little Hiruzen and his team doing this very test back in the day. It seemed tradition had been handed down the line. Sasuke and Sakura looked determined. They nodded and ran to hide in the surrounding trees. Naruto also nodded and disappeared. He went to hide in another section of the forest and hid his presence. The forest was his territory, after all. Extending his senses, he could feel Sasuke near the fringe of the forest, obviously watching Kakashi. Sakura was a little distance away from him and she felt trepidation and fright. Sasuke was anxious and excited. Oh well, he would wait for Kakashi to finish off his teammates before he went in himself. Unless they got the concept of teamwork before getting annihilated, which was unlikely. He watched as Kakashi materialized behind Sakura and put her in a genjutsu which knocked her out. He would wait. Kakashi went back to the clearing and whipped out his orange book and started reading. This was puzzling to the veteran Jounin. According to all reports, Naruto should have been the one to attack him head-on, but judging by what he saw of Naruto he should have expected the unexpected from the blonde. Kakashi abruptly turned and blocked a kick from Sasuke. The boy kicked hard for a genin. They engaged in a reasonably fast-paced taijutsu match. Sasuke used the typical Uchiha taijutsu, which was rather ineffective without the Sharingan. He could have knocked the kid out within an instant, but he pushed him to innovate and get unpredictable. But it was in vain. The kid had no adaptability or creativity. Getting bored, he knocked away the Uchiha with a rather gentle kick. Sasuke looked angered that he was cast away so easily. I am different from the others, he said to Kakashi with gritted teeth. I am sure you are. Kakashi could sense a buildup of chakra in the boy and he recognized the hand seals that were used. Not bad, the boy had learned some good stuff. He pocketed his book. Katon, Gokaku no Jutsu. Sasuke had spit out a medium-sized fireball at Kakashi who just disappeared. The fireball left a small crater where he had stood. Sasuke looked around frantically for his missing sensei. Before he knew it, he was buried underground with just his head sticking out. Doton, Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu, Kakashi said calmly. The boy was good, but he had missed the point of the test. He just had to wait for Naruto. It was too bad this team would fail. Naruto was deep in thought as he saw Kakashi dispatch Sasuke with ease. The boy was good for his age, and with some good molding he would be a powerful shinobi. It was time for him to see just what made Jounin in Konoha these days. It seemed that he would have to show a little more of what he was capable of today. Performing a single-handed shunshin, he appeared in front of Kakashi. Oh, so you have appeared. You may have improved a bit, but what makes you think you can defeat a Jounin single-handedly? Naruto smiled. Stuff it, Kakashi-sensei. I know you want us to work as a team, but you must understand that there is a flaw in this test. Kakashi's eyes widened considerably and then narrowed at him. It seems you have understood. But what flaw are you talking about? Teamwork is developed through bonds of experiences, and cannot be expected to bloom from nothing, and that too among 3 people who don't even know each other. But anyway, I will get the bells and we will pass. Kakashi narrowed his eyes once more. You overestimate yourself, Naruto. Naruto gathered and flared enough chakra to match Kakashi, showing a faint silver aura around his body. He held up the half-ram seal and disappeared. Kakashi was astonished at the kid's mastery of the Shunshin technique. He barely had time to think as Naruto appeared behind him and aimed a kick at his head. Underestimating Naruto, he did something foolish. He blocked the kick and was sent crashing into the trees 100 yards away for his trouble. Sasuke stared wide-eyed at the power exhibited by Naruto. What had happened to the dobe? Naruto extended his senses and felt Kakashi behind him. You substituted with a shadow clone before you hit the trees, didn't you? Naruto asked, pleased. Kakashi nodded and pocketed his book again. The kid had hit as hard as Guy with his weights off. He was truly something else. Naruto disappeared with another Shunshin and attacked Kakashi with a palm, and the duo engaged in a fierce taijutsu battle. Kakashi was good. He blocked each strike of the nature fist and dispersed the chakra concentrated in his strikes with great expertise. Naruto was impressed with the jounin. You are good, Kakashi-sensei. You are too good, Naruto. Where did you learn this style of fighting? I created this style. It is mine, and mine alone. So why don't you bring out that Sharingan of yours? Let us take it up to the next level. Kakashi was floored. He felt as if he was the one who was being tested. The blonde-haired genin was too good. Way too good. He had landed debilitating strikes and was obviously holding back massively. Fine, I will. Naruto stared at the mature Sharingan eye of Kakashi. He felt a disturbance in his own chakra and calmed it with a single thought. My chakra is special, Kakashi. Such simple genjutsu won't work on me. Kakashi stared at him for a moment before disappearing with a blur of speed and attacking him with a high kick. Naruto dodged it and once again they began their taijutsu battle. Kakashi was able to dodge and counter most of his strikes easily thanks to his Sharingan. Their battle was escalating. To Sasuke they were simply blurs that created small craters when they touched the ground. His mind was stirring with jealousy and awe. How was this possible? Naruto was going toe-to-toe with a jounin and was not even breathing hard. Kakashi's prowess at taijutsu was excellent. Naruto grinned happily. He had to do this more often. Slipping under Kakashi's punch, he dealt a moderately powered palm to his chest. Kakashi flew back and landed on the ground with a backflip. He blurred through a series of hand seals. Suten, Tepidama. Balls of water at high velocity flew at Naruto. He dodged them all with amazing grace and efficiency and gathered a massive amount of chakra that manifested as an extremely bright cloak of silver chakra. They had about 10 minutes to the end of the test. Kakashi too gathered his chakra in preparation to counter the genin's jutsu. Naruto again did the unexpected, and disappeared with an extremely high-powered Shunshin. Before Kakashi could blink, he reappeared next to Sasuke's head, holding up the two bells in his hand. We pass, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi stared at him, amazed and proud. True, he himself was also holding back a lot, but Naruto had impressed him. He was truly a prodigy on Uchiha Itake's level. You most definitely do, Naruto. All of you pass. Dig out Sasuke and get Sakura, will you? Naruto dragged out Sasuke from his hole, smiling. Sakura joined them looking ashamed. Kakashi stared at his three students with a serious gaze. Do you see the headstone over there? The names inscribed there are shinobi of Konoha that were killed in action. My friends' names are also on that stone. The three stared at him solemnly. Always remember this, those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their friends are worse than trash. Naruto stared at the man, his respect for him rising. That was a worthy creed he lived by, much like his own. He had held his own against Senju Hashirama's taijutsu even at a watered-down level. This was a worthy man and shinobi. We are Team 7 from now on, and we will begin our missions from tomorrow. Be here at the same time tomorrow for missions. The three nodded. 1 month later. Naruto looked at Hiruzen listlessly as he droned on and on about how missions were assigned and distributed to the various ranking shinobi. The past month had seen Team 7 doing various D-rank missions. This was just a euphemism for pointless chores. The D rank they had just completed was one of the most annoying missions ever. They had gone to capture one cat called Tora. That damn cat was so elusive. It had mauled him and Sasuke mercilessly. Sakura did not even get her hands on the irritating furball. It had given them great satisfaction to see the thing squished to death by the daimyo's portly wife. Hiruzen had then gone on to assign to them even more D ranks, and all three of them had put their foot down. Their united yell of vehement denial had made Kakashi proud. His kids were being a team. But Hiruzen was far from understanding, as he and Iruka were now going on and on about missions and such. Naruto was currently holding a conversation with his tenant. Kurama looked at Naruto from his spacious cage. "Hashirama, do you know why I have brought you here?" The fox asked him seriously. "No." "Why?" "I know a way you can kill the masked man easily. Listen carefully." Naruto lavished his complete attention on the fox. This could well be what he was after. Kurama had so much experience that he could well be called a baby in comparison. "Just tell him about how you, the great Senju Hashirama, ran all around Konoha to catch a cat. He will die laughing." Naruto had a tick mark on his face as he stared at the fox that was laughing heartily at his expense. It pointed a finger, or rather, a claw at him. "No, tell him about how a chicken pooped on your head when you were collecting eggs. Ha 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 ya. Enough." He had had enough. Exiting back to the physical world, he stared down Hiruzen. The old fool had stopped his boring lecture and was pinned down by Naruto's forest green eyes. "Enough, old man. Give us a C rank mission now." Hiruzen looked amused and a bit harried. He looked at Kakashi. Iruka was looking at Naruto and mouthing at him frantically to show proper respect to the Hokage. Naruto found this irony bittersweet. He could now understand how little Hiruzen had felt as he and Tobirama had dumped D rank upon D rank on him and his team. The tables were now turned. "They are ready for a C rank, Hokage-sama. Aren't you, team?" Team 7 nodded quickly. They were ready to participate in a war to escape those D ranks. So yes, they were ready, all right. "Bring in Tajuna-san, Iruka." They all watched as Iruka ushered in a middle-aged drunk. "So you are the ones who are assigned to protect me, Heek?" Tajuna slurred. Sasuke asked the Hokage, "Why is this old drunkard here?" "He is your mission, obviously. You are to protect him as he returns to Nami no Kuni to complete his bridge. Do you accept?" Hiruzen asked. "Heek, do you think those kids can even protect themselves, let alone protect me?" Tajuna asked drunkenly. Sasuke stared the old drunkard in his eyes, unleashing his killing intent. Tajuna suddenly snapped into sobriety, unable to withstand even that small killing intent. Well, he was a civilian. Now. "Sasuke. Intimidating the client is not good for business, is it?" Sasuke let up reluctantly. He still looked rather pissed. "We can protect you, Tajuna-san. I myself am a jounin and am more than enough for a C rank mission. Rest assured, you are in safe hands," Kakashi said soothingly. Naruto could sense apprehension and deception floating off the old drunkard. He was obviously lying about the mission parameters. They would need to be on guard. "We leave tomorrow at first light. Meet us at North Gate," Tajuna-san, Kakashi said. The next day, road to Wave Country. Sasuke stared at Naruto. The Uchiha had spent the previous month researching the Uchiha archives for any record of the kind of taijutsu Naruto used. He had never heard of such a style. Each strike seemed to be infused with chakra and required perfect chakra control. After a month of poring over dusty archives for such a taijutsu, he had come up with vague results. It seemed that the Senju had used something like Naruto's taijutsu in battle. It had evidently made him nigh indomitable in a taijutsu fight as the power of his strikes kept on increasing. He had kept his distance from Naruto after he had fought Kakashi to a stalemate and got the bells. Uchiha respected power, and Naruto had spades of that. The blonde was obviously hiding something major, and he would find out what. Sakura was also thinking of Naruto and his change. Just a few months back, he was the comic relief for the rookies of Konoha. But now he had changed so much that he was not even recognizable. He used to be more of a little shrimp who wore bright orange and shouted about how he would be the Hokage. But now he was different. He still retained his bright personality, but he seemed wise and compassionate. Oh, and powerful. Untrained though she was, the aura of strength that surrounded Naruto of late did not go unnoticed by her. Or by anyone else. The rest of the rookies had asked Sakura just what had happened to the prank-loving dobe. She had no answers for them. But she did know that Naruto was far beyond the reach of any mere genin. This realization had sobered her up. She had then resolved to actually train and stop holding Naruto and Sasuke back. She refused to be the weak link for Team 7. This did not go unappreciated by Naruto, who had kindly forgotten her previous indiscretions and restarted their relationship on a clean slate. She was happy. Team 7 was her family and she did not let down family. Naruto walked down the road, letting his sense wash around the landscape in all directions, keeping alert for any threat. He found two. Said threats were currently disguised as puddles of water. He smirked in his mind. Seriously, that was a very substandard genjutsu. 1. It had not rained the previous day, and 2. There was no real water source nearby. Any ninja worth his salt would have noticed the two idiots. Both had water-natured chakras. He knew Sasuke and Kakashi had also noticed the puddles, by the fluctuation in their emotions. He looked at Sasuke and nodded. He received a nod in acknowledgement. Kakashi seemed as oblivious as ever. Suddenly the two puddles became ninja who wielded chained blades. They pounced upon Kakashi and tore him to shreds. Sakura let out a high-pitched shriek and froze on the spot. Naruto and Sasuke glanced at each other and shot off at the two missing ninja. Sasuke formed seals fast and shot out a fireball at the nearest ninja, who countered with a water bullet. Naruto appeared behind the other ninja and sent a palm, which was blocked. The force of the palm sent the ninja staggering. He reinforced his palm with his Mokuton chakra and struck the enemy hard, sending him flying into the tree behind, knocking him unconscious. Sasuke himself was engaging his opponent with his clearly improved taijutsu. It was a stalemate. Suddenly Kakashi appeared and knocked down Sasuke's adversary. "Kakashi-sensei!" Sakura cried in relief. Naruto nodded in approval, having noticed his substitution before. Kakashi glared at Tajuna. "This is no C rank, Tajuna-san. You have lied to us and it is well within our rights to stop here." Tajuna was sweating profusely and explained about the shipping tycoon Gato. The wave country was apparently run over by his company and totally oppressed. The bridge built by Tajuna was the hope for the country as it connected the island to the mainland and made Gato's shipping redundant. "Let us continue with the mission, Kakashi-sensei. That country is obviously in need of our services and it will be good for Konoha to have a potentially prosperous country like Wave in its debt." Naruto reasoned with Kakashi. The Hokage in him was coming out to play. Kakashi sighed. "What do you two say?" he asked Sakura and Sasuke. Sasuke nodded affirmatively, as did Sakura. "We will continue, Tajuna-san." Tajuna sighed in relief and continued on the path towards Wave Country. Naruto followed, keeping his sensing active constantly. He needed a place to let loose his ninjutsu. Preferably a large and isolated plane. His chakra was very special after all, and any spike in it would be noted by Hiruzen and his old team, so he could not unleash even a small portion of his strength in Konoha. He would have to get reacquainted with Mokuton somehow. "Kakashi-sensei, I can sense two chakras just ahead. Both are quite large, and one chakra is comparable to yours." "What do we do?" Naruto asked. Kakashi looked alert. "Be ready for attack, everybody. Sakura, guard Tajuna. Sasuke and Naruto will back me up." They all nodded and proceeded onwards. About half an hour later, Naruto could sense one of the chakras close and signaled his team. This person was clearly Jounin and had a strong water affinity, and his emotions were a kind of predatory rage. He would be a dangerous opponent. They suddenly heard a buzzing sound steadily increasing. "Get down!" Kakashi yelled, and everyone dropped down. A large Zanbeta whirled towards them and missed them by a small margin. It embedded itself deeply in a tree by edge. Crouched upon the blade was a masked ninja who stared at them steadily. "Sharingan no Kakashi, no wonder the demon brothers failed," he said in a deep voice, surveying the team with a critical eye. Kakashi too stared back. Zabuza Momoichi, demon of the bloody mist. All of you guard Tajuna. This fight is beyond you. Zabuza wrenched his blade from the tree and walked towards the group and stood opposite Kakashi. The environment around them was thick with the chakra they were releasing. The very air was heavy in anticipation. The two Jounin started leaking strong killer intent into the air. Tajuna, who was unaccustomed to this, sank down to the floor in terror. Sakura's face was set in a rictus of terror. Sasuke drew closer to Naruto, who stood there unconcernedly. "What is this?" he whispered. Naruto could see that the killing intent was heavily affecting his teammates. Drawing Mokuton Chakra, he released it into the air, calming the frightened genin and client. Zabuza and Kakashi looked at this new phenomenon in interest. "Good trick, kid. Do you believe that will save you?" Naruto snorted. "Save the cliché threats, Zabuza. Tell me, where is your accomplice?" "A censor ninja, right?" Zabuza asked, intrigued. "Silent killing won't work, then." He suddenly disappeared and attacked Kakashi with a powerful swing of his giant blade. Kakashi blocked calmly with his kunao. The two then went on to engage in a fierce kenjutsu fight, shockwaves erupting from the collision of their blades. They were so fast that it seemed like rain hitting metal continuously. Zabuza tried to cleave Kakashi in two with a heavy swing, but Kakashi slipped under his guard and buried his kunao in his opponent's chest. Zabuza dissolved into water and the original appeared behind Kakashi and kicked him hard off the bridge right into the water. A clone of Zabuza formed next to Kakashi and trapped him in a sphere of water. Zabuza grinned. "You are taken care of for now, Kakashi. Watch as I kill your genin right in front of your eyes." Kakashi cursed himself for falling to such a simple strategy. He had to intensify his training as he seemed rusty. "Run. You are no match for him." Zabuza grinned again. "That's right, brats. Listen to sensei and run. Leave the bridge builder, though, and I might let you live. I want Kakashi's head for my bounty." Sasuke and Sakura flinched but gripped their kunao tightly. Naruto was irritated, though. How dare that man threaten his comrades? He would need to put the creep in his place. Senju Hashirama did not run from such annoyances. "Sasuke, Sakura, leave this to me and guard Tajuna," Naruto ordered calmly. "Oh-ho. It looks like the little genin is stepping up. You three are not true ninja dash." He suddenly stopped his dramatic monologue as he watched Naruto. Massive amounts of silver chakra exploded from Naruto, saturating the air and almost bringing Zabuza down to his knees. The ground around the blonde started cracking from the immense pressure. Zabuza stared in alarm at the boy who was supposedly a genin. He needed to be put down fast, so he blurred through his hand seals. "Suten, Suiryudan no Jutsu," he roared, causing a huge water dragon to rise from the lake and rush towards Naruto. Kakashi stared with growing horror. Sasuke and Sakura closed their eyes at what they assumed was their impending doom. Naruto clapped his hands calmly in a serpent seal. "Doton, Daiichi no Kabe," he intoned calmly. A huge wall of earth rose to shield the group from the water dragon, easily dissipating it. Kakashi stared with pride and curiosity at the blonde who had performed a high-level jutsu casually with only one seal. Sasuke and Sakura were just frozen with shock at the display of such power. Zabuza frantically blurred through another seal sequence. "Suten, Daibakufu no Jutsu," he yelled, and a huge spiral of water rose from the lake and blasted with unbelievable force towards Naruto. Naruto did not release the serpent seal. "Doton, Ajudoragan no Taju," he said quietly. The earth in front of Naruto exploded, releasing 4 huge earth dragons. 2 of them neutralized the onrushing water jutsu, and 2 collided with Zabuza, sending him flying. He was obviously grievously injured when he landed heavily on the shore. Before Naruto could finish the job, the dormant accomplice appeared and ran with Zabuza fast. Kakashi appeared next to Naruto. "Leave them, we will be ready for them later. Tajuna-san, lead the way to your house. Sakura and Sasuke, protect him." The 3 nodded and went on, still staring at Naruto with awe. Kakashi gave Naruto a hard glare. "You have a lot to answer for, Naruto." That's it for part 1. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.